What's going on? It's your boy Astro, aka the Galaxy Shogun, coming to you again with another One Piece chapter review. One Piece chapter 1117. Today we're diving into the chapter, so if you haven't caught up yet, beware of the spoilers ahead. And before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you never miss out on my latest content. I've been doing a lot of advertising, trying to put out a lot more content, and generally improve the quality of my content. So if you are someone who has just joined the channel or recently subscribed, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and we're about to do big things. Anyways, let's get into the chapter. So, the pirates on Hachinosu. For those that don't know, that's obviously the pirate beehive where Blackbeard and his crew have set up base. They have started to believe that there's treasure on the seafloor of the entire world. This happens because, the revelation that Vegapunk gave us the last few chapters. Now, people are starting to kind of debate, where is the gold? Is everywhere ancient cities? Is it like Shandora if you go just 200 meters deep anywhere? Is gold just scattered all over the place? We have a pretty interesting point about submarines being able to do it. The only person in the show that has a submarine, or I should say the only captain, is Law as of right now. But some of these no-name pirates on Beehive bring up the fact that it might be possible if they use, a fishman or a mermaid or a submarine. It's worth pointing out on this island as well, we see some people we haven't seen for a very long time. Yes, that is right. We see Pearl, Gin, and Dawn Krieg. Holy smokes, that's like the better part of 1,000 chapters, like 2 decades we haven't seen them. All of them growing out the flow. I mean, Pearl generally looks the same. Who cares about Pearl anyways? We're talking about Dawn Krieg and Gin. We have been theorizing that Gin was going to pop back up, even more so than Dawn Krieg for I don't know how long, but these guys pop up. They had, some hair commercials, some hair sponsorships because the hair's looking luscious. They both got the flows going. It's crazy to see them in this stage of the story. It's even crazier to think about the fact that, Hachinosu is in the New World, meaning that Don Krieg, Gin, and Pearl have seemingly gotten a bit stronger if they're able to hold their own in the New World. And at that, being on, Pirate Island, which I don't know if that implies that they're under Blackbeard, but Don Krieg seems to still have his insignia on his shoulder pad, so that at least implies to me that he at least has, a little bit of his independence still, which is pretty impressive. I mean, Don Krieg was kind of a scrub, not gonna lie. Got dealt with pretty early, so seeing that grow is pretty good. I mean, I don't think he's gonna be anything crazy. I'm sure he doesn't even scale to Lucci or Kaku or any other person that we've seen in the story as of right now. But the fact that they have been able to make it this far to Pirate Island, it's nice to see them. It's nice to see them, and I like when Oda throws that in. And I will be getting into more negatives, like a lot of people have, given where this chapter ended. But I figure we start off on a lighter note. Speaking of people we haven't seen for a long time, we see Mont Blanc Cricket, and he's straight up looking like Garp. I don't know if I'm the only one that was like, hey, this is looking like Garp with an acorn on his head. He was listening to Dr. Vegapunk's message and decides, it's time to go diving again, because that was kind of his thing. If anyone, should be interested in diving, it's the Sarayama Alliance, which is the Monkey Alliance, and Mont Blanc Cricket, because that was kind of their thing. They'd go diving to try and find the gold. I'm sure since what happened in Skypiea, they kind of understand that's in the sky. But he's gotten his thunder back, or his will to go diving again, I should say. So that was pretty cool to see Mont Blanc Cricket. I've been watching Jaya again with the free reactors. Every once in a while, I'll rewatch the series with some reactors, and it's a great arc. It's a great arc, and the great characters early on. So very nice to see those characters. So next, over at Marine GS Hospital. This could be like a soap opera or a general hospital type thing. That was the first thing I thought when I heard of this. But the members of Sword are recovering from their battle at Hachinosu, Pirate Beehive, and X Drake has returned, and he's recovering but wants to be left alone. It's at this point that we get confirmation that he seemingly is the captain of Sword. It's a little disappointing because Drake's kind of a scrub, but good for you for being captain of Sword. I would assume that there might be an admiral or someone higher up, or Garp would be. the captain or something like that, or the commander, but I guess, Garp doesn't really like titles and roles like that anyway, so good for you, Drake. You're still a scrub, though. Uh, Beyond that, we see another person we haven't seen for a long time. I feel like this is one of those chapters of just like, wow, we're getting a ton of people we haven't seen. Smoker. Smoker calls Tashigi, like, basically wondering where she's at. And Tashigi lets him know that she is at the hospital with the rest of Sword. So it's interesting. What is going to be the next step for Smoker? Like, it's difficult for me at this point to see where Smoker's going to fit in. Sword has an interesting conversation there as well, basically implying in my mind that if it turns out that they are working for evil with the government, that they could possibly, change sides or decide to side with the Straw Hats at some point, which seems very likely given that we have Drake and Kobe and even Smoker and Tashigi who already have worked with the Straw Hats in the past. So working with pirates, especially if it's confirmed that it's for a good cause, might not be too out of, might not be too unrealistic at this point. So that's something I'm definitely going to watch on because Kujaku even seems to have her own sense of justice, which is interesting given that Suru is so high in the Marines, but it could be another case like Luffy and Garp where they follow their own sense of justice. So beyond that, we have Vegapunk more or less just, closing off the message and starting to end by saying, hey, I might have some more predictions, but if I were to give you them, they would be nothing but predictions. And being the very reliable Vegapunk that he is, yeah, right. He decides to just kind of cut it off there and say everything else is speculation. So I'm not really going to give any more information. On Egghead, we see the Straw Hats witness the Frontier Dome lowering and the clouds have stopped stretching. You definitely get the vibe that the arc is, wrapping up because the Straw Hats, as they do at the end of every arc or most arcs, are making their escape right now. Usopp notes that they have enough distance to reach the water, and Brook reports that the cola barrels are loaded for the coup de burst. So, Frankie's ready on that side, and Nami contacts Jinbe, who's chasing Venus, and, they think that they're taking a detour to fight Venus. However, Jinbe corrects her, pointing out that Nusjuro is actually heading straight for the ship, preparing to destroy it. So they're actually kind of defending the ship right now, rather than just chasing a fight. So in a pretty cool moment, probably the best moment of the chapter, Jinbei uses Katagurama, which is basically just a throw, and he throws Zoro at Nusjuro, Venus, Ethan, whatever you want to call him. And Zoro actually blocks Nusjuro's sword with a two strike, with a two sword style, like a move called Rashomon. I guess the full thing is Restful Paradise Rashomon. And that's something that he hasn't done for a while either, speaking of things that haven't been done for a while. And, the really, 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 really cool part is seemingly Zoro recognizes Nusjuro's sword as a Kitetsu, meaning that that's basically confirmation that Nusjuro has the Shodai Kitetsu, which is the supreme grade version of the Kitetsu, given that there are three different versions, and the only one that we haven't seen so far since we've seen the Nidai in Wano that Luffy actually wielded, and obviously Zoro has the Sandai. The supreme grade version, being the same rank as Yoru and Whitebeard's blade and Roger's blade, which means it's no joke, is seemingly being wielded right now by Venus Nusjuro of the Gorosei. So, you know, they repel each other. Jinbei catches Zoro, and Jinbei basically carries him, and Zoro yells for the crew to take off, and that he and Jinbei will jump on. So I would assume that that's all we're going to get of this clash, knowing Oda and the way he loves to tease people. I don't assume that we'll be getting any more of this fight right now, but it's cool to basically have that confirmation that Ethan has, a Kitetsu blade. And originally reading it, I think a lot of people as well thought that Nusjuro Ethan was the one that was actually mentioning the connection to the blades. But I reread the Viz, and it seems that it's actually Zoro is the one that senses that it's a Kitetsu. So that's really interesting. So down on the northeast coast, we have Bonnie and Luffy, and Bonnie's calling for Luffy while the Marines surround the giant ship. Luffy, who is back to normal at this point, like not in gear 5th, yells that he's almost there and basically tells his crew to get going, like don't worry about him, he'll find a way to get over there. And at this point, the Straw Hats are pushing through the Marine blockade, but Vice Admiral Bluegrass actually takes control of one of Vegapunk's sea weapons with her ride ability, and manages to actually do something, which is pretty rare for a vice admiral, so good for her. Speaking of vice admirals and doing stuff, Doll, holy smokes, she is looking like a member of the monkey family with these fists right now. She actually kind of physically resembles Garp and Luffy as well. So, if Oda, if you decide to make Garp or if you decide to make Doll even more important, like a member of Garp and Luffy's family, like I'm down for it. Like she's cool with the whole rock motif. She knocks out Kashi, and if you don't remember, Kashi was in Eni's lobby, like the giant, with a move called Rock and Roll Blaster, which is just like a punch that seemingly has some sort of like not Conqueror's hockey, but advanced arm in hockey. It seems that she's utilizing that a bit, which again is very Garp-esque. But whew, man, do I love me some Doll. I'll take Doll every chapter, Oda. If you're gonna stall, at least let Doll be in the chapter. Let her be the forefront, because whew, she is. Yeah, I gotta stop thirsting. That's not what we're here for. But let's just say if she's not at the top of a lot of people's top tens this year or top One Piece girls, top One Piece women, I got some questions. I got some questions for sure. So beyond me simping for Rock and what was going on there, the Marine blockade, a few of the vice admirals are doing something, which again is generally pretty rare because the vice admirals kind of stink, for being honest. But speaking of stinking, this is the part of the chapter where I'm going to slow down a little bit because I'm actually very mad. I'm actually seething. My little brother actually called me with basically the same criticisms, which is rare for him to go out of his way to call me to complain about something about One Piece. But this is something, if you've been watching my past videos, it should be no surprise. And I'll stop teasing. I'll get into it. Let's just start here. So, Warcry. Warcry stops chasing the giants to meet up with Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter, and they decide to engage the Iron Giant because obviously at the end of last chapter we found out that the broadcast is being protected by the Iron Giant, and Vegapunk announces that there's one more thing. Before the elders actually recognize that Iron Giant is the same one that attacked Maryjaws 200 years ago, and it seems based on the dialogue from the Gorosei that this is like confirmed based on the fact that they were there. Again, this is a stretch because it's not exactly stated outright, but the Gorosei seems to say like this is certainly it, which would make you assume that they were there to witness it, which confirms that they're probably immortal or something to that effect. But they definitely have experienced this giant before, and the only time they could have is way back then, like 200 years ago. So that kind of confirms that whole immortal Gorosei theory. But moving on. Vegapunk addresses everybody in the world with the initial D. And it's weird who we get to see. We get to see Dragon, we get to see Sabo, we get to see Kobe. And it's super, super, super interesting. And we actually get to see Beppo as well. It's super, super interesting for a few reasons. Sabo was told he can have a D, but we don't necessarily know that he's inherited it. Some people were saying, is this confirmation that Sabo's a D? I don't think it is. He brings up Ace and Luffy's names. I think they're just showing people close to the Ds, and in Kobe's case, he brings up Garp and Luffy, obviously. And then, what's really cool is that we see Beppo, which last time, he just transformed into Sulong form, and we didn't necessarily know if he was alive. If Beppo was okay, I think it's pretty safe to say that Law is probably doing fine. Or not fine, but is doing alright. It'd be kind of weird to see Beppo like this, and then he suddenly, next time we see Law, he's confirmed to be dead or something like that. So this is good news for us Law fanboys. It looks like he made it out from getting jumped, because he got jumped from Blackbeard and his boys. So, looks like we should be seeing Law very soon. But this message is addressed to the people that know about the D and the people that are Ds. We don't really see Luffy's reaction to this, but just when we think we are about to get some information about the D finally, and I mean, this is chapter 1117. It's not crazy to say we should be getting this now. We do not need any more teasing. We do not need any more cliffhangers. This is the perfect time to give us the information. I know I'm not Oda, but it's excessive what has been going on the past few chapters. I went from being annoyed to actually being pissed now about the way things are going. Because Warcry literally tackles the giant, jamming the signal and ending the broadcast right at the last second. York falls to her knees in relief while, the rest of the world is like, what? The rest of the world basically has the reaction that the audience has, that us readers have. Like, seriously? Like, we're not going to find out about this? Oda, like, if you're so smart, why didn't you just loop the message? Did you need to spend 10 minutes making fucking coffee? Is this an ad for Folgers? Like, why couldn't you just loop the message so the important part certainly got out? Like, Vegapunk, for a very smart guy, you're kind of a fucking moron. And excuse my language, but I'm pissed because there's going to be the defenders that come out, oh, you can't say anything bad about One Piece. I freaking love One Piece. It's the best manga, the best anime, the best thing ever. It saved me. It's made me a better person. I love it, okay? But that doesn't mean I am not going to criticize it where it's necessary. If this series wants any hope of having the original cast, the original voice actors, and everybody that is currently still alive to be that way by the time the story ends, including Oda, we can't continue this nonsense. We simply cannot. Because some would argue, oh, there might be a better time for this flashback. Da, 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 da. Could there? Why even bring it up? Why even go through it? It's been like what, like 3 4 months of this flashback, and all we've basically gotten, or this transmission I should say, and all we've basically gotten is, oh, the sea levels. Everything else we could have basically determined on our own from the information we had. So Oda generally, like, I used to think Egghead was a pretty good arc, but I will say confidently Wano's a better arc because at least in Wano, he gave us answers. He didn't do these cliffhangers, these expositions every chapter. It's cheap Oda, and you're a better writer than that. It's cheap Oda, and you are better than that. I have faith in you. However, I'm going to call it as it is. This is cheap, and this is lame. It's lame what you're doing. You have to just stop. Like, obviously he gets some sort of enjoyment from doing this to the audience, but there's only so many times we're going to be blue ball till we just lose interest. And honestly, like, it's sad to say, I mentioned One Piece is my favorite series, but this is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. So, you know, Oda continues to tease us with these crucial pieces of information. And again, we're in the so-called final saga, and yet we're still getting these cliffhangers, interrupted messages, and I mean, come on, Oda. We're dying to know the secrets of the One Piece and significance with, the initial D. I'm sure you know that, and like I said earlier, again in your sick way, maybe you're getting some form of pleasure from this. It's genuinely frustrating that after all these years we're still being strung along. We fans want this series to conclude, please. And not to say you gotta rush it, but just, I don't think we ought to be doing these type of delays anymore. I don't think that the payoff is going to be so fulfilling that we couldn't have gotten the answer now, since you quite literally teased it. It was a completely unnecessary thing to do. So anyways, that rant is over. This chapter was cool to see a lot of people we haven't seen for a long time, but overall disappointing in ways too, because Oda deciding to like, the Iron Giant got one tapped. The Iron Giant with one hit from Workery is just out of commission. This Iron Giant is like the biggest waste of time, the biggest wasted plot points in the entire arc. Because this Iron Giant's supposed to be something magical, something great, and seemingly he just got one tap by Worker. And I'll say seemingly, but the message is seemingly done. And I know that Oda could be subverting our expectations, and I pray and I'll apologize if next chapter he comes back and he gives us the rest of the message or gives us an answer. But I seriously doubt it. I think that this Iron Giant really got one tapped. One good thing I'll say about that scene, I guess, is that it looks super cool with all the Gorosei except for Ethan, Nusjuro, obviously, who was fighting Zoro. 4 of the 5 Gorosei surrounding the giant. That did look cool, but it's not as if they all did a combo attack. Like, Workery did one attack and the giant fell, so very disappointed on that aspect of the chapter. If I'm going to rate this chapter, it's good. And it just barely qualifies as good, and the only reason it does is because uh, we get to see some characters we haven't seen for a long time. I guess the clash with Nusjuro and Zoro was good too. We get, I guess, sort of confirmation on the Kitetsu stuff, so that's cool. But the meat and potatoes. We were looking for some Void Century stuff or the Will of D, and we were dangled the carrot, and it was taken from us. It was not fun. It was not fun. So anyways, this rant is over. It's been your boy, Astro, aka the Galaxy Shogun. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's been your boy. I've been rambling on, but chapters like this get me heated. And again, the background, it says Anime Rants. Look at the bio of all my stuff. I told everybody. I'm telling you how I feel. Telling you how I feel. So that's been it, people. Really appreciate you if you made it to the end. Thank you to all the new people again who have joined the channel, joined this community. We're going to do great things. We're going to be putting out a lot of cool content. So I'll see you next week. Probably got a discussion of some sort coming out this week. So look forward to that. Anyways, it's been your boy. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I will see you next time. Peace.
Do it! Just do it!